Good evening and welcome to Taking the Tradition On. As ever, I am so excited about tonight. We are in series 6 at the moment, and our theme is Wondrous Creatures. We're going to be here for about an hour of conversation, exploration, storytelling, and discussion. While there will be storytelling, it is not a story concert as such. It's very much an in conversation. It's a chance to get to know a subject better and a storyteller better as well. As usual, I'd like to thank my incredible patrons who help make this happen. Taking the Tradition On is free to join on the evening. All of the conversations are freely available on YouTube, and it's thanks to my patrons that this can happen. So you know who you are and you're completely brilliant. If you'd like to join the Patreon community, you are always very welcome. So tonight I have got a fabulous storyteller, a fabulous treat for you. She describes herself as a barefoot forest girl from Finland. Riikka Palonen spent 10 years in the capital of Finland, Helsinki, but after getting a Master of Arts degree, she returned to her home village, and for more than 20 years she worked as a modern Highland drover, an importer and breeder of Highland cattle, but along the way also telling stories in her small farmside restaurant where she also hosted lots and lots of bands. She is a fabulous artist, working in all kinds of visual arts, in paint, in tapestry and in sculpture, and she describes herself as a bone maiden as part of her art. But stories and art are at the centre of her life, and more using those to really focus on her passion for the environment and for the world that we live in. I'm absolutely fascinated to find out more about Riikka Palonen, her journey in Finland, her journey to Scotland, and why she has chosen the bear to be her wondrous creature. Welcome, Riikka Palonen. Everybody's going to go mad, whooping and clapping their virtual hands on the chat for you. Good evening.
Thank you, Amy. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here, and I am awfully excited and a bit nervous, but here we go. Let's talk about bears.
Well, and I'm really excited. I love bears. They're iconic, but I know so little about them. I know about the little bear and the great bear up in the sky. And I have, that image of the bears catching salmon, and that the playfulness, but also just how massive and powerful they are. For me, they're magical and utterly mysterious because I know very, very little, and I'm really, really excited to find out more. So why the bear? Tell us about the bear.
Why the bear? Bear is sort of it's the sole animal of all the northern people on all the northern hemisphere. So America, Asia, Europe. All the northern people have kept the bear as divine. And what is kind of the most important thing to me is that bear is very much like a human being. And my mission in this world is sort of trying to at least reach few people and get them to think about that this wonderful, amazing, beautiful planet that we are sitting on is entirely our home. And as people normally take care of their homes, we should also take care of our home in the bigger picture. We are no different than birds or birch trees or lingonberries or dandelion or worms or any creature in this amazing creation. But as bear is so similar to us, bear is if you look at well, you can't look at, well, you can Google and find a picture about A skinned bear looks shockingly like a human being. A bear's footprint looks like a human footprint. They are heel steppers, so they put their heel down. Bears, they like to eat berries, as all the Northern people like to eat berries. They're big berries, and you hard to imagine, but they like to eat berries so that they can get fat and sleep over the winter. Very difficult to imagine how much berries you need if you are yourself 250 kilos or up to 300 kilos, and you get yourself fat by eating bilberries. They like fishing, and they have a sweet tooth. Oh, they love everything sweet, and they whistle.
All humans, they're starting to sound very like me.
Oh yeah.
Eating lots of sweet things and sleeping through the winter. I'm becoming more and more attached to the bear as my soul animal.
Oh yes, they are wonderful, and of course, as the stories are telling, a bear is also our forefather. So all the northern people are related to the bear.
So will you tell us that story so we have some idea of where we're going with this, of why the bear is so important? Will you tell us that story now?
I was thinking of go a bit in a chronological order. So where the first bear came, what's the divine origin of the bear?
That's what I meant. Yes. So the beginning of the bear, where the bear comes from.
Yes.
Will you tell us that?
I will tell you that. And all the old folklore in Finland has been written as a poem, and it has been sung. So the poems are very long because of alliteration and the habit of saying the same things several times in different varieties. So the stories were easier to remember when they were songs, but the songs had very monotonic, very simple tunes. And I will give you an example how the old Finns would sing the birth of the bear. Missä on nohto synnytetty, mesikämmen käännytetty. Tuolla on nohto synnytetty, mesikämmen käännytetty. Luona kuun tykönä päivän, otavaisen olkapäillä. Sieltä on maahan laskettuna, kultaisissa kätkyissä, viittioissa hopeisissa. Where was Ohto being born? Where was Honeypaw rolled around? Next to the moon, close to the sun, on the shoulders of the Plough. There he was born. So he had his home in the sky where all the gods were living, and he was the son of the god, also a daughter of the god. A funny thing in Finnish language is that we don't have genders. Especially some Siberian tribes are in the opinion that it was she bear. I think Finns more thinking that it was a male bear because he then married a girl. But we are still up in the stars. And the little bear cub is like all the children are, very curious, very playful. And sometimes he wanted to kind of peek down to the newborn forests and woodlands of the earth. And he was so curious that finally the great gods decided to send him down to the earth. And so they prepared a golden cradle with long silver chains and placed a bear cub there and lowered him from the stars down to the earth. And he landed on the northern woodlands. But as he was still just a baby, a little cub, he needed someone to take care of him. And so the gods were asking maybe the goddess of pine trees called Hongotar would take the job and be the caretaker of the little bear. And she promised to do just that. And so the bear started growing in the northern woodlands. And that is how he came here. And these stories are extremely old. Finnish stories, some research are the earliest ones date back 3,000 years, maybe. But if thinking of the divine origin of the bear, that has been known all over the northern parts of this globe, and bear cult can be traced back to 35,000 years to the Romanian people who lived in Central Europe, and looks like that they had bear as a divine creature already then. And the tradition is so strong that the biggest celebration of the bear cult, which is the Bear Wake, was still practiced in Siberia, in Khanty and Mansi villages as late as 1970s. And still, even in Finland, if the modern hunters are going to hunt a bear, which you can do if you have a license, when they get the bear down and they, of course, they let the blood out and blah blah, and then they are tying the paws together and putting a pole there so that the bear is hanging there, and the men are carrying him out from the woods. He's always carried head first, because in the Finnish tradition, only a dead man is carried legs first. So he isn't dead, because he's divine.
It's called a bear cult, and I think of a cult as being something that is small and secretive, and kind of, sort of kept away from the rest of society. But that's not at all what the bear cult was. It was the sort of the part of the main religion. It was ubiquitous. It was everywhere, wasn't it? Across the Nordic countries.
Yes, and not only Nordic, not the European, but also in North America and throughout the Siberia. So all the northern hemisphere was seeing bear as a divine, and the stars, the star constellations, have always been also a strong part of this cult. So the Ursa Major, and the part of it, the bum and the tail of the bear, is probably one of the first constellations that human beings learn to recognize. And if you Google why Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, where they got their names, why they are there, you will be offered a story of Zeus, who again was doing the one thing with the lady that he was not supposed to do the one thing, and because of Hera's anger, the lady and her son were thrown up to the skies. But those stories are about 4,000 years old. And the bear cult has existed probably tens and thousands of years.
Wow.
There are variations of it if traveling through the globe. So, like, for example, there is a cute little story on Mi'kmaq people in North America. They are saying that these three first stars, they were actually birds, and they were hunting the bear, and the hunt took a long time, and some of the hunters got tired, but the one who was closest to the bear was Robin, and finally he managed to throw a spear so that he injured the bear lethally, and because throwing the spear you get blood spilling over, and that's why Robin got the red breast, and that happened in the autumn, and that's why all the autumn leaves are also red. And then because the constellation is closer to the horizon on the winter time, then they said that the bear traveled through the skies during the winter, lying on his back as a skeleton. But when spring arrived, he stood up on his hind paws and started climbing back to the center of the sky and kind of filling up the flesh again. And this is one of the main things of the northern myths about bear, is that he is always born again. So he's the son of the heavenly gods who is descending down to the earth, is living with people, is killed by people, is resurrecting, and is ready to come back when the time is right. I think we have heard this story on with a bit different names.
Yes. The bear usually takes longer than 3 days, I think. I mean, I suppose it's the whole thing of hibernation as well, which is seems amazing that it is sort of a living death, hibernation, and going into a cave and then coming out with a spring. But it's there's a lot of animals that do that, but it's the bear that has really become the focus of that.
Yes, it's bear is a symbol of all the natural cycles. So how the world is cycling, the bear is cycling, how the stars are turning around, how the year is turning around. So is the bear climbing high, coming back down. And this is a very good time for telling these stories, because 19th of January, it is said in Finland that bear is kind of slightly waking up in his dream, and is rolling from one side to another side, and he is saying that the night is half of the night is away, and I have hunger in my belly. Some versions he's saying that there is a pitch black poo in my arms.
Well, I was it halfway through the night. You normally need a wee. I mean, that's what I was expecting. But yes, I can.
They don't. They don't wee, and they don't poo during their sleep at all.
That's a lot of berries to build up.
Yes. So the first thing they need to do when they wake up is to get, there is one sort of black ball of it's called in Finnish, if I translate it directly, it's pitch shit. It's dung ball which is sticky and black, and it's been there the entire winter, and the bear needs to get rid of that before he can really start eating.
That's some serious relief, isn't it? That's
has to be.
That's a celebratory moment when you get rid of that.
But the amazing thing is that the bear is even giving birth while it's sleeping.
Now that is an excellent idea that I think we should really take
I
into the
think
human
so.
realm.
Yes. So you just go and you just have a good nap, and in the morning when you wake up, I have babies.
Where did you come from? Hooray!
Yes.
That is a marvellous plan. But amazing as well to have taken enough food on board to not only let yourself survive through the winter, but to bring more life into the world. And again, another sign of divinity, that creation out of nothing, that creation out of sleep. So not only do you come back after death, but you come back renewed with more of you, with bringing extra life into the world.
Yes, yes. So they kind of turn the bodily functions in sort of in minimized scale. So, for example, the heartbeat is summertime about 40 times a minute for a bear, and in wintertime it's 8 or 10 times a minute. So it's really sort of slow motion. But it is absolutely kind of amazing that a guy who is 250 kilos can just be snoring away without weeing or drinking or anything.
It is incredible. And when we were preparing for this, I thought, right, well, my accent's going to be dreadful. My language skills are not great, but I ought to at least learn the name of the bear in Finnish. But there isn't one, is there? Or at least not just one.
There are, I think,
There's
about
lots and none.
265 names officially, and then there are the unofficial ones. So because of the divine origin of the bear, and because of the belief that bear is always listening, bear can always hear you, it was forbidden to say the real word, the word bear, the original word. So actually the original word is gun. Nobody knows it. And then there are the euphemisms, if you want to say, or nicknames. And they vary from being grandfather or big man of the woods. And then there are Otso, Otto, Lalli, Honeypaw, Pawsucker, Suutihosen, Cow's fear. Then there are some that are maybe a bit rude, but amazing amount of names.
I love that. I'm just it's my sort of going to bed thing now. Is just it's going to lie there, kind of trying to think of as many names I can make up for the bear as I can, and trying
I
to.
think that would be a very good sort of that you are recitating all the names of the bear, and definitely you are going to fall asleep at least on the 27th.
But I love it, and I love the that Nordic tradition of the kennings coming in as well, of the cow scarer and the different ways of describing him. But you know what, the time is marching, and you made me promise. You said
Yes.
there is so much to talk about with the bear. You need to keep me on track, and there's so much, and I want another story, please. I think everybody else does as well, because I'm loving the history of the bear. So we've only got baby bear at the moment. We've got a cub in the woods. He's been looked after by the Lady of the Pines, who I want to know more about. The Lady of the Pines. I want to know if she ends up in the stars, because I don't know about a pine tree constellation or a Lady of the Pines constellation.
No, Lady of Pine Trees is only in the woodlands, and she stays there.
Okay. But I'm assuming that this cub grows up.
He grows up, and I'll tell you a little story that was collected. So it was oral tradition collected on the 17th century from Lapland. from the Sami areas. And it tells about what the grown-up bear then was doing. So there was a girl and she had 3 brothers. And the brothers hated the girl. They tried to make her life as miserable as possible. And at some point, the girl just got so tired of all that she wanted to run away. And so she did. She just left their home, the house, the warmth, and she just ran into the woodland. She didn't know where she was going or how she would survive. She just wanted to get away. And she ran and she ran and she ran until it started to become dark. And she realized that she's tired, she's exhausted, but she wanted to find a bit of shelter, a dry place where she could sleep a bit and then maybe in the morning think again where she could be going. And she found a sort of a den under a huge old fir tree, and she crawled in and it was nice and dry and she fell asleep. But that den was a bear's den, and later the same night the bear himself came home. The bear also was sleepy, crawled into the den, crawled next to the girl and fell asleep. In the morning they wake up, they say hello probably, and after they got a bit better acquainted, bear then marries the girl and they have a son together. And that son is growing up to be a great hunter. He is such a good hunter that the father bear needs to place a brass plate on his forehead so that his own son doesn't shoot him accidentally. And that son grew up to be an amazing man who is the forefather of all the Northern people. But when the son was grown up, the bear himself was old. And as he was a great bear, a strong bear, a divine bear, he didn't want to turn feeble, weak, ill. He wanted to die as a man does. And so he said to his wife that next autumn, when the snow falls, I am going to make clear tracks from our den to the house where your brothers live, so that they can come, they can hunt me, they can kill me. The girl didn't like this idea. She loved the bear. She wanted him to stay, but great bears are stubborn creatures. There was no way the girl could make the bear to change his mind. And the first snow came. Bear walked to the house of the brothers so that there were clear tracks back to the den. And then he asked his wife, was it that all the brothers were equally nasty towards you? And she answered, the 2 older ones, yes. The youngest maybe was just following the brothers arrive to the den. The oldest one is attacking. The bear goes out and injures the oldest brother badly, doesn't kill. The second brother attacks, the same thing. The bear is injuring him as well badly, doesn't kill. And then the bear goes into the den and says to his wife that she should put her arms around the bear. And so the bear lifted his wife into his arms and walked out from the den on his hind feet, carrying his wife. And his wife told the youngest brother to shoot the bear. After the bear was dead, the girl walked away a bit, sat down. She couldn't bear looking at her husband to be skinned. But at some point, she had a wee peek with one eye only, and that's the reason why northern women are allowed to look at the dead bear only with one eye and through a brass ring, as the bear was having the brass ring on his forehead. And ever since that day, all of us northern women, we are carrying a sorrow in our hearts because we are still missing our bear love. That's the story.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that little missing part of you is the bear then, just that.
Yes. Yes, every woman is kind of feeling that there should be the bear on my side, and he isn't anymore.
Such a, yeah. Shane's saying fabulous story. Absolutely is a fabulous story. And Elaine's asking, are all these stories part of the Cleverer? And can you give some indication of the part and the verses if they are?
Now I must say that I didn't get your question. Could it
Sorry. Yes, so Elaine is asking the stories that you're telling tonight. Are they all part of the Kalevala?
Kalevala.
Is it, am pronouncing it badly again?
Yes. No, this one is not in Kalevala. The rune song that I was recitating, so the origin of the bear, that is in Kalevala. Yes. But the story of the bear and the girl was collected from Lapland. So it's part of a tradition that didn't end into Kalevala.
So from that son, then all the northern peoples have descended.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the bear was shot and he died, but he didn't die because he returned to the heavens.
Yes, he did. So the as I mentioned when I was talking about that how long the tradition has been strong, that there was this bear wake that was still performed in Siberia in the 1970s. Bear wake is the holy ceremony. When the bear was killed, it was taken to the village. Of course, we are talking about a very, very huge area from north of Finland to the end of Siberia, where this wake tradition was strongest. So there are small varieties, but basically men were cooking the meat, women not, because they were in mourning. And then they wanted to have a feast, but not a funeral feast, but a wedding feast. So if the dead bear was male, a bride was chosen from the village, or if the dead bear was female, a groom was chosen from the village. And then they prepared some manner of hall where the festivities would happen. in some traditions, the skin and the head of the bear were lowered from the ceiling, from a hatch in the ceiling into the venue, and thus reminding of the heavenly origin of the bear, that he came from above. And then when all the meat is boiled with beans, make a good stew, then people start eating and singing. So in the songs, they are describing the origins of the bear and how mighty he is or she. And then they are also singing about, actually, we didn't kill you. We didn't kill you at all. It was that you are such an old man that you stumbled, you fell into our spears. We didn't kill you. And in many ways, they try to convince the bear that there is no reason for him to avenge his death. So not to come back and kill the cows. That. And after they have been feasting, that could take the 3 days. Then they take the skull of the bear and they walk in a, is convoy a good word? No. So you walk in a line.
Procession?
Singing and praising the bear. And they walked to a special pine tree, which was dedicated to be the bear skull tree. And back to the pine, because pine goddess was the mother or the stepmother. And then the skull was placed up to the tree facing east. So then when the morning sun rose, the spirit of the bear flew back up to the 7 stars, back to the home of the gods. And from there he would come back. The time is right.
Because that's the thing, that even in the 1970s and even now, killing a bear is a big thing. Mm-hmm. Even with modern weapons and guns, it's still, bears are dangerous.
Yes. Then, of course, when Christianity arrived, the priests wanted to put an end to all these sort of pagan activities, and so like the 19th of January, which has always been the day of the bear, when the bear is rolling around. On that day, 1156, a man called Lalli, which happens to be one of the nicknames of the bear, killed the bishop, Saint Henry, who came to bring Christianity into Finland. But then Saint Henry became a martyr and a saint, and so Saint Henrik, who is the patron saint of the small Catholic Church in Finland, his celebration day is now the 19th of January, which used to be the Bear's Day. And on the 17th century, the priests, who actually were all from Sweden and most of them didn't even speak Finnish, they gave orders that all bear culture has to be destroyed, all the trees has to be destroyed. And to kind of make it work, they decided to offer money if you kill a bear. There was a price, bear's head, and they were killed almost entirely on the 1960s. So late, people realized that, oops, we have about 100 or 150 bears in this country, and they're going to disappear entirely if nothing is done. And it was so late that the sort of protection started, the programs that now are keeping bear alive. At the moment, we have maybe 1,500 bears in Finland. It's a bit difficult to count because they cross the eastern borders and they go to Russia. But still.
So better than they were, but still pretty low numbers.
Yes. But still, even though that the people were obeying the priests, and there was one very famous bear hunter who killed what, 178 bears or something like that. Grown-ups, he didn't even count the young ones. So he was the bear killer in Finland. But he was carrying around his neck a bear tooth for protection, and he was sacrificing the bear's blood to a sacred tree.
Right.
So kind of to be sure that there is still the element that the bear was divine even for him, even though he made fame and money by killing them. He still, deep in his heart, thought that bear is divine.
And is that still a feeling? Obviously, you still feel it. Is there still that feeling now of the bears being divine? Do people still know lots of nicknames and names of the bear and still have that feeling of his divinity?
Yes, the fact that the bear has many names, that's very common knowledge in Finland. I think most of the Finns, at least I can talk about my generation, which is awfully old already. But I think most of Finns have an idea that bear and the Plough are connected. That's the home of the bear. And the name bear and the variations of that is very much used. So we have a very famous beer that is a bear. We have log houses that the company is so big that they even export log houses and bring them to Britain. All the icebreakers that are working on the Finnish coast are named. They have different nicknames of bear. Outdoor shoes, sports gear. We call Mr. Taxman a bear, tax bear.
Or the strong and the powerful, and people to be feared. And that's one of the bits that I'm really interested in as well, is kind of because bears what, they're so powerful. They were feared, and you were saying that they don't eat meat until they've eaten meat, and once they've eaten meat they change and they become,
well, they do eat berries always and roots. They like berries, but the more they have possibilities to eat meat, of course, that's filling the big body easily. Sorry.
As you're saying, they sort of get a taste for it, and once they've had a taste of cattle or people, then they come searching for it.
Well, they didn't much eat people. It's very seldom a bear kills people, and it's the case is then that there is a young cub and the mother bear, and the person is just accidentally between them, and the mother instinct is so strong. So bears are extremely shy, and they have a very good hear and sense of smell, so normal bear is going away. There was a research done that 50 times researchers were trying to approach a bear that had the collar, so they knew, they could see it on the map where the bear was. So they tried to sneak so close that they could see the bear, And they tried that 50 times with the map on their hand, and they couldn't.
But at the same time, there's the whole thing about keeping bears away and the power of women, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
And
so,
so,
of course, to cattle, it was a danger. A cow is a very, very tasty bit and a big carcass to eat. And because Finnish people were putting their cows into woodlands as early in the spring as possible, so they were not using the good farmland to give pasture to the cows. The cows were taken to the forest, so they
and cows. I mean, I think it's hard sometimes, I think, in this modern world for us to appreciate how valuable a cow is.
Mm.
I mean, and certainly kind of when I've looked at the runes and the old stories, it's that the rune for wealth is the same as cow. I mean, it is
yes.
about cattle. That's how you count your wealth. And in a land where you have to keep them alive and feed them and look after them over the winter, I mean, they are hard to look after and to support.
Yes,
And
they didn't actually produce much milk during the winter at all. Yeah. But the valuable thing was the manure, the fertilizing. Yeah. So people were able to grow crops with the dung of cows. So even though that they were not milking the entire year round, they were still very valuable. And because women and bear, they have this connection. Women were the most powerful thing to kind of keep the bears away from the cattle, and especially the female bits. They have been considered in the Finnish tradition the most magical, the most strong, powerful thing that you can kind of use for enchanting or making magic. So one of the traditions was that in the spring, when the cows were taken out, so they were indoors the midwinter, the good wife of the house climbed up to the fence post, so that she was standing legs spread above the gate opening, and of course didn't wear knickers because people didn't, and the cows walked under the good wife. Some traditions say that if the lady had good knees, she was squatting that much that her bits were touching the back of the cow, and she was saying that this is the biggest beast that is going to touch your back this summer. So that was the greatest protection. But then there has been sorcerers who were able to, if they were in anger with another person, they were able to rise a bear, so kind of use a natural bear, but put anger into the bear's mind and precisely attack the enemy's cows. And then there were shapeshifters. So sorcerers were also able to turn bears. Bears. There are three possibilities if you encounter a bear. It's just a natural one, it's a roast one, or it's a sorcerer, him or herself. And there were people who strongly believed that as late as on the 1960s. But if it happened that the bear attacked the cattle, there were women who you could even hire a woman to go to the pasture or to the land where the dead cow was, where the carcass was. And the longer that woman stayed by the dead cow and was showing her genitals to all directions, the longer the bear kept away from the cattle. So it was kind of protecting cattle that he is not coming back, even though he has managed to get one cow.
And so that's partly out of respect, isn't it? So partly respect for his wife.
Partly, and it's
And
also said that a bear is not attacking a woman.
yeah.
It might attack a woman if the woman was pregnant with a male offspring, because he might be a hunter. But if a woman was pregnant with a girl, no problem.
Because you were saying as well, if you're sort of out in the woods, I love this, that kind of if you're out in the woods and you get attacked by a bear, that would be the thing, or a bear approaches. If you're a woman, just lift up your skirt and go, "It's fine, I'm a woman."
Yes, that's what you were supposed to do. Show your thing.
But I think I like to think it's not particularly fit, more love than fear. You're not particularly frightening it away. But it does make sense. It is the most powerful magical thing. It's the seat of creativity. It's the seat of divine magic, and bringing life out of nothing. It is, in all traditions, if you go far back enough, it is it's divine creation. It's the most magical thing that we can do as humans. So it does make absolute sense. Now, I promised that I would give people a chance for a Q&A at the end. I knew this would happen because I knew we had a lot to talk about, and there's still lots of other things that we were going to mention and talk about. But I wouldn't let other people have a chance to ask some questions as well. I've still got lots, but there are some that have been coming up on the chat. And if you do have questions, now is the time to put them up in the chat for Riikka. So Vivian's asking, is there a growing interest in the old stories and the old practice and the honouring of bears and ecological protection? Is it? I mean, it's not long. We're saying sort of the 1960s and the 1970s. This is still, being practiced and recorded practices of this. Is it restarting?
In Siberia, not in Finland. So Finnish people started to get rid of all the pagan things officially when the church was telling so by the time of Reformation. Of course, the further you went from the capital, Finland was woodlands, and soldiers and law keepers didn't want to go in the deepest woodlands because you might not come back. But Finland cleared off, especially Western Finland, closer to the capital. We lost huge amount of folklore. We lost all the spells. Finnish people were known to be witches, very, very capable ones, very good person to have in a boat, because Finnish witches were able to control weather, raise fog, raise rain, control winds. And the strongest and longest tradition was that we were able to stop bleeding with spells, with words. It has been said that blood stopping has happened still by the time of telephones, that the sorcerer said the words in a telephone, the person who was bleeding severely stopped bleeding. But most of the spells are disappeared. So, but there is, we have, of course, many things kind of go together. Like one big thing for the Nordic culture definitely has been the HBO Viking series. Finnish people were not Vikings. We are not Scandinavian people. Our language is Finno-Ugrian, and Sweden and Norway and Denmark, Iceland, they are German languages. So we are entirely different people. we don't understand each other's language. We were not Vikings, but we have in a history of Viking period, because they were crossing Finland, going to the eastern trades, and they were buying furs and food in Finland. Wild Finnish men joined the group, so we talk about the Viking period. But at the same time, as kind of the popularity of the Vikings has been rising. There are a lot of reenactor groups in Finland, but that also has grown the interest to our own traditions. And we have nowadays quite a lot of young people turning to, well, church would call it paganism. Paganism is to be non-Christian, so but that was the way people were thinking before Christ. So I'm kind of I'm not I don't go around saying that I'm pagan. I just I belong to the land, as people did.
This isn't so much a question as a comment, but Sally's saying in Native American traditions, bears are believed to be spiritual guides and represent strength and self-knowledge, having supernatural powers, including great healing powers. The bear is a symbol of deliberate action, introspection, soul-searching and insight, which, yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Shane's
all divine attributes can be placed on the bear. And if talking about this and the story, so then if you try to find books about bear stories in Finland, you get the stories where there is the trickster fox, and then there is wolf and bear, and the fox is the clever one, and the wolf and especially the bear, they are just dumbheads. They bear is described as a clumsy and slow-minded, and I'm kind of in the opinion that this is the also because of what church was doing, was denying the worship of the divine bear. So then, of course, we needed to kind of, because the bear existed, you need to have stories for children. So it was practical to turn him into an idiot. I don't like to tell those stories because I feel offended, because he was my husband. You don't tell such things about my husband. I can tell that he's.
you tell the different stories. Yeah, bring back the other stories. Shane's asking, have your cattle ever been attacked by bears?
No. There, I was in the southwest, which is not the strongest bear territory. I remember one year when, because my cattle were carving out in the woods, there was already 7 calves that I had seen and ear tagged, so they existed. And one morning when I went there, I couldn't find any, like no calves, nowhere. And then I was asking the cows that, where's your calves? And they were like, calves? Calves? Has anyone had calves? No, we haven't calved. And said, yeah, you have calved. But they insisted that they haven't calved. And the calves were missing for 1 week. I was just following, I was feeling the udders of the cows every day, and I realized that they do sneak into the pasture to suckle, so they are somewhere close, but they have told the calves to go and hide. And after 1 week, one morning, all the 7 calves were lying there in the middle of the pasture like a bunch of flowers. And then I phoned the gamekeepers and said, now guys, tell me, what was here? And they said, a bear. So the cows knew it, and they kept the calves hiding. Clever girls.
They are clever girls. That's amazing.
Mm.
And so there's no more questions on the chat, and it is time for us to finish. But this is my last question. Have you met a bear in the wild? Have you ever sort of no?
They are so shy. They are so clever. They know where people are, but it's very difficult to see them.
I said there's no, but there's one very last one. Yes, Norman's just asking: is there any connection with the Ainu or the Ainu, the indigenous people of Japan? I don't know if you would know.
I think they had also bear stories, but I'm not so familiar with their traditions, so I'm not saying anything strong.
No, and if the bear came down from the heavens, then he came down to all of the world. So, you know, obviously there would be stories in Japan.
Actually, also there is one earl in England who was a straight descendant of the bears. Name of him?
Well, Arthur.
Earl of Huntingdon should be out of the bear, as was the Danish king Knut II, was proven to be descendant of the bear.
Well, and King Arthur himself, there's a lot of talk about him being referred to as the bear, and that's a whole other conversation, but a very linked one. But
definitely none of these great men and like the Greek, I can't pronounce it in English way. Odysseus, he was out of the bear. Beowulf was out of the bear. Would all these great men and adventurers and warriors, would they want to be a son of a stupid and slow and clumsy creature? No, they wanted to be offspring of a divine one.
Yeah, the divine and the strong and the thoughtful and the that the two sides of the self meditation and that time and the introspection and then the great coming out into the world and the wisdom. Thank you so much, Riikka. There are more in our notes and much more we can cover, but it's just been such a great introduction to bear mythology and to bear folklore. Everybody, there's lots and lots of love on the chat for you. Everybody's saying thank you for your stories and your lore. It's been brilliant and really fascinating. Elaine just saying thank you, really interesting. So glad to have this totally different view of bears. All Elaine has ever known is being made afraid of bears when in the wild in America. All that information, what to do with, and carrying bear spray. And actually, all you need to do is flash your skirts. So there we go.
So simple.
Well, thank you so much, Riikka. Now, there is lots more to discover about Riikka. Riikka does have a website. So if you look at riikkapalonen.com, there are 2 I's and 2 K's. So riikkapalonen.com, and there you can find out about her storytelling, but also you can look at her visual art. Obviously, there's a fantastic tapestry there behind Riikka, and that's one of yours, isn't it, Riikka? And there's lots more weaving and tapestry, your bone maiden sculptures, and you can buy original artworks and print there. It's well worth some time to look and admire and enjoy. And if you happen to be in Scotland, if you happen to be near Fife, you run quite a lot of events where you are as well, don't you?
The next event that we have here in Fife is that I'm hosting a storytelling evening in our community hall here in Crail, and the next one, the first one to come and share the stage with me is Dave Tong.
So it'll be a fantastic night, but you're telling as well, so stories from you and Dave Tong.
Yes, we have a battle. I'm going to sweep the table. I'm going to show that little boy that where stories come from.
Fantastic. So that is it for tonight, but if you've enjoyed tonight, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel Taking the Tradition On. If you go there, all the conversations and Taking the Tradition On, you can find them all there, all freely available. We will be back.
And about YouTube, I just remember I just remembered that I have a YouTube channel. I haven't been updating it now when I've been in UK. So I moved into UK last year, and there's been so many things to arrange. But there are some Finnish folk stories that are that I'm telling in English also, if you are interested.
So we can put a link in that on the Facebook event. So and on this YouTube, when it's up on YouTube, we can put a link so you can find those Finnish stories and go and listen to some more. Do
Hello,
subscribe.
Norman.
Subscribe to Riikka's YouTube channel. Subscribe to Taking the Tradition On, and Taking the Tradition On is monthly. I'll be back next month, Tuesday the 4th of February, with another fantastic storyteller. So next month it will be Nick Hennessy, and Nick Hennessy has chosen for his Wondrous Creature White Mares, and that is a very different topic, and one that I'm really fascinated and excited by. So White Mares coming up. But for now, thank you again, Riikka. I'm going to clap on behalf of everybody. Brilliant. Thank you for a wonderful evening of air sign mythology, and I think we should all go to bed thinking of as many kennings and names for the bear as we can, and do put them up in the Facebook discussion group so we can share them all. So good night, and thank you, Riikka.
Good night, and thank you for all of you who came to listen. It's heartwarming to have so many of you here. Thank you.